time, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Big pile of pine wood chips there waiting for export. The main export is sugar. It was well and truly dark by the time we arrived at our mooring for the night, and there are a couple of other vessels in the fleet there before us. Cruising down the side of one of the islands in the group. Just finished breakfast. Full cooked breakfast. Some of them are still busy eating from the later risers.
It's quite long. Nolly's got the book. Did you bring your book?
No, I didn't.
On the other side, it kind of looked like.
Suva resort. It was hats off for everybody as we entered the village of Ngapula. Only the chief is allowed to wear a hat in the village.
Thank you.
Just before we'll call you for dinner, we got something to tell you. We used to call everyone.
Next morning, sailing for the beach where we're going to spend a lot of time snorkelling and swimming. Where we're going to spend the day. Everything's all ready for us.
Too hard on our back. Sure it is.
Oh, Frank. Saan kayo waray? Nama?
Hindi mo naman ngayon.
Oo, di. Lawrence, yung berno mo. Saan di mo kayo?
Mike, lalim mo yung itam suot mo. Ako turut.
Yo, naka.
Marang na yun. Orang timur sama aku.
Other baskets full of fish all around the leg of pork. The root vegetables, potatoes, taro. Coconut fronds on top.
Добрый день, Долорис.
Agora bateria tu tagi. Kalingalem. Oh.
Had their bath and been oiled with coconut oil, nothing sure, I can smell it. Go to school on an outer island. This old man came rolling home. This old man, he played eight played knick-knack on my plate. Knick-knack, give a dog a bone. This old man came rolling home. He played 10. He played knick-knack on my hand. Knick-knack, give a dog a bone. This old man came rolling home. Beach towels, everybody. 7. Mine's hanging over on the boat. I think it was cute. Hey, give us a break.
So when you go back home, you want to do this type of cooking?
Oh, food.
Anybody can tell me what is this?
Hot noodles.
You wash your hands first?
Yes.
All good things must come to an end, and on the morning of the 4th day they started moving about 6:30, and we steamed back in to Lautoka, arriving about 11:30.
that last one, eh? Before we sing our farewell song, just before we sing our farewell song, we'd like to thank you all for a wonderful time. And on behalf of the crew, we'd like to thank you all for the gratitude given towards your services. And we'd like to wish you all a safe journey back to your hotels, back home.
Along the south coast now towards the Ngapula resort. High tide at the moment. Train of cane cut ready to go into the factory. Cane cutters are on strike at the moment. Fiji on a Sunday is pretty dead. Nothing open, no transport, no nothing. And tomorrow's a public holiday, so that's even worse. So we've had to hire ourselves a little car for a couple of days. It was drizzling all the way, but we went for a drive through to Suva. Very uninteresting place except for this little boat harbour, which is quite pretty. But the rest of the town was very grubby and seedy looking. This is a replica of an ancient Fijian village at the Orchid Island Cultural Centre. I think that's what they refer to as the ancient temple. I reckon that most of the photographs of that don't come out.
Fiji's go really cannibals with one. Okay? This is the right time. And I'm going to close the door and I'll try to select which one, eh?
They have to soak it in the water for a couple of weeks. And they use the cone shells to take the back. When they have the back, they have to place it on the top of the beating log like that. And they use a mallet. So we have 6 turtles here. And we have 2 different kinds, greenback and hawksbill. You see this one here? This is the hawksbill one. That one got rough shells. This one is a greenback, got smooth shells. We feed them with the fish, mincemeat, and seaweed. We feed them twice a day, morning and afternoon. And also the turtles are very, very nice in the pot. Have you tasted turtle soup? No, don't taste it. If you taste it, you don't like to go back to your country. Stay in Fiji. Turtles is the chief's food. So before, if you like to eat it, you ask the permission first from the chief. If you eat it without permission, you'll be executed. So maybe you'll be the soup of the day. Nowadays, plenty cheap, so everyone can eat it. These size of the turtles, you can find it at the reef. Out of the reef, you'll see the big one. Eh? They can grow over 100 years, so they'll be there anyway.
In the mouth in case she goes down.
Oh,
There she goes.
I'll hold the bait with...
Right, lovely. Vanilla. The flower is an orchid. Green in color. Got a bean or a pod, orange,
beans.
yellow. When they're orange in color, pod open, take the seed, wash it, bake it, mill it, cocoa. A bit of butter. Women and children love it. Gentlemen, a word of warning. If they eat 10, you eat 10 too, because this thing fills them up full of air. In other words, somebody's going to get isolated. Root crumbly. Kamala in Fiji. English sweet potato. Mary's called kumara. Yes, that is from New Zealand. Root crop. Another root crop. Tapioca. Leaf like fingers. All these are eaten in place of potatoes. Sugarcane, #1 export in Fiji today. Last, they send it overseas, crystallize it, bring it back. I've got to pay the difference. By crackies, man. Idea. They make pots out of clay found in freshwater riverbanks up here, like in this photograph. Women knead it and mold it by hand. They dry what they'd made in the shade or in the sun. When dry, they place it on the fire and heat it up. When that item is hot enough, the girls would insert a stick in the mouth and bring it off the fire. You all know the big steps of the temple? That is a Fijian curry. The gum contains resin. They rub that gum on when it's hot. It put a sheen, a gloss on it, seal it. That's what the early settlers called glazing. Containers, this shape. This high. The girls glaze it 4 times on the outside, used as water containers in the houses in the canoes when raiding or visiting. Cooking pots like that, never glazed, puts a bad taste in the food. Now you start to realize why a man needed plenty of wives, eh?
And there's a little mini zoo here as well.
Children.
We headed up an inland road on the way home. We really got up into the highlands. Talk about children of the mist. Little car didn't really want to do it at times. There were signs of settlement in here though. Right in the centre we came across a village. The kids all rushed out to see the car going past, and there's all sorts of little bits of cultivation, yams and coconuts and taro. And look at those cliffs. Look at that, for heaven's sake. Banana and pawpaw right in this wilderness. Reckons the taro need watering, I think. No, it's the breadfruit tree that's receiving his attention. And there's the village, right in the middle of nowhere, and the kids are so excited to see a car. Look at them. They're going mad. They're coming out of everywhere. Well, we did manage to get out of the bush last night with great difficulty. And here we are this morning, public holiday in Fiji, and all the shops closed and everything. So we're heading in towards Sigatoka, and we plan a trip up the Sigatoka Valley. There are some beautiful mosques around Fiji from the Indian population. This one is in Sigatoka. One of the villages. It's quite a fertile river valley. We left the valley and climbed up into the highlands. Dropped down to another little river valley with crops everywhere. It's all Indian community, and we've passed quite a few Indian schools. Look at the water lilies. The horses down in them having a feed. Valleys up here. See all sorts from this vantage point. There's a village there with coconuts and bananas and arrowroot, and our road continuing on and down into another valley, all its varied colours and types of growth, from dense forest to acacias, bare ground, pine trees, the lot. Quite a bit of this bamboo in places too. In some of the highland country they're growing their pine forests. Truly magnificent view from here. Highest point. Just look at our road. How's that for a zig and a zag? Off into infinity. Our islands on full zoom. We travelled down through cane fields. Stubble's been burnt off and it's shooting again. We've come up to a headland called Momi, which is where the guns were placed during the war for the defence of Fiji. They've restored a couple of them. Ready for when the Japs arrived. Some of these Indians work real hard for their money. So do the bullocks, for that matter.
The maiden hair, ground covers creeping Jenny, and the variegated creeper is arrowhead creeper. Here we have Vandopsis, two genus, we cross them together, the Vanda and the Phalaenopsis. So it calls Vandopsis. Another genus and Gracum orchids known as the Star of Bethlehem. This side with yellow one is Oncidium or dancing ballerina with more dendrobium. Here we have collection of miniature Lilia cattleya. More collection of dancing ballerina with Miltonia or pansy orchids or butterfly. Smell, this one does. This one smells. Rhyncho style is known as the foxtail orchid. Fingertips bromelia or ladies' fingernail plants. With a collection of...
See how it gets its name, can't you?
Tyrium. Yes. And Tyrium. Ornamental ginger, we use them for flower arrangement.
See them everywhere in Fiji, don't you? They make beautiful flower arrangements. Dancing ballerina.
With begonias. Silver jewel begonia and maple leaf begonia with philodendron creeper. And hemigraphis or red ivy. In some countries they call it ajuga.
Sleeping hibiscus, they never open. Pussycat whiskers.
And, up here you can see banana.
What did you call this coloured tree? The name?
Crotons.
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 Oh, yes.
Up there with orange flowers is Spathodea. Spathodea or flame of the forest.
They're beautiful.
Cattleya.
Amazing how little...
Collection of Lilia cattleya. Cattleya, the big showy one, they are the king of all orchids. This looks like a bullhorn.
Thank you.
clear.
This one's perfumed.
That's good.
This is the entrance to the government house. You'll see there is a green building up there on the left-hand side. That is where the president of Fiji lives. Can't go there. I'm sorry that we can't go there. They have a security in front of the main gate. On our way back, we'll be stopping over if you'd like to take pictures.
This is our welcome to Naviti. Beautiful ginger flowers.
Okay, thanks. That's your dinner bell.
Thank you.
We're here to watch the fire walking ceremony by the Bika Fijians, the only tribe who have the gift of doing it. They're in that little hut there at the moment, not allowed to have eaten coconut in the last few days or had any contact with women. Pretty wet here tonight.
Go on the island of Benga. Benga is the island where these walkers come from. It is a big island that looms on your right on the way to Suva, just as you are going past Pacific Harbour. Living on the island a long time ago was a very famous Fijian storyteller whose name was Nrenri. It was customary that people came in with gifts in appreciation for his stories, and it so happened one day they asked him what he would like for his stories. He said, just come back with the first catch when you go out hunting tomorrow morning. Well, one of the young warriors of one of the villages went up looking for freshwater eels up on the mountain stream. And he chucked out his line. After some time, he felt a little tug on the end of the line, so he pulled his line in. And instead of catching an eel, there was a little man tangled at the other end of the line. He assumed it was a spirit god. There were many of those kind in Fiji in those days. So he came back with this spirit man all the time. This little man was pleading for its life. He said, no, you're coming with me home and you will be on the buffet table tonight. The young man said, I'll give you this, I'll give you that, I'll give you this, I'll give you so many wives. This young man said, I have already got enough. I'll give you this, I'll give you that. He said, no. He said, how about I give you power over fire? How will you do that? He said, do something like we have in front of us. So a big pit and a huge fire line with stones like we have in front of us was prepared, and when they thought the stones were hot enough, they asked the little man, we'll chuck you in. He said, sure, go ahead. They chucked him in, and to their surprise, this little man just sat on top of the stones, not a little burn on his body. So he said, will you let me go? Or before he asked them that, he said, you can even bury me in this for 4 days. And so they did. They buried the little man on top of the hot stones for 4 days. After the 4th day, they opened the pit, and there he was, still sitting on top of the stones, very much alive. He said, will you let me go now? They said, yes, only on one condition. You leave the power behind with us. He asked them if they wanted to be buried for 4 days as well. They said, no, just the walking bit will do. And so it was from that day onwards, ladies and gentlemen, the direct descendants of this young warrior are said to be the mbetes or the priests of the fireworkers of the island of Benga. So from us to you, for the next half hour, I proudly present the Benga fireworkers. Yeah, leading them on is the mbete or the priest, as we said. He will be in charge of the whole ritual tonight. And they say, if they don't follow what he says, someone can get burnt. Kau is the term given for the poles that you see the men are walking in with. This will be used to remove the still burning logs from the pit. Balambala is the term for this fern stock. They say on this particular fern stock lives the spirit god that gave them the power over fire. And now, with the help of the poles and the vine, the men are going to flatten the rocks. And now with the help of the poles, they will turn down any sharp edges, make sure no sharp edges up, as it is possible a walker may cut his feet, but quite impossible that one gets burnt.
Sure got the power.
the end of the walk, you can check their feet, make sure they aren't any very thick Reebok soles glued to their feet. Ladies and gentlemen, the eldest in the group. How about a big round of applause for him, please? They say that if one of these people from the island is around when someone gets burnt, they take away the pain by just touching the burnt area of your body. And when that heals, it leaves no scars. The chant you're now hearing, ladies and gentlemen, is like a prayer of thanksgiving that no one has been burnt in tonight's walk. Can do so now. Next, upstairs, we are having barbecue, and the special tonight is barbecued feet.
The swimming pool area at night. View from the dining room at the Naviti. They've created an artificial island there, which you have to swim across to at high tide, but it goes completely dry at low tide. And this canal runs around behind the hotel. Pool area. And children's playground. Also a little takeaway food type beret there for when you're out at the pool, food and drinks. The grounds are quite well done. Lily pond here close to the reception area. The accommodation area is quite extensive. It's about 140 rooms. It's also a very nicely kept 9-hole golf course. The roundhouses are the housemaid stations. This is the King's Palace. Not a good view of it, but it's very hard to get within Kui. The beachfront along to the west. The main street of Ngapula is a mixture of the old and the new. Mostly old. We had an hour to kill before our transport arrived to take us over to Fafa Island. So we grabbed a taxi and got him to bring us out to the coast. There's 4 kilometres of blowholes along here. Our next stop was trees full of flying foxes. Those bat type things that get into the fruit. They just hang around during the daytime, and at night they fly out and attack the orchids. Pacific Royale the first night in Tonga, and the next morning our transport, the Fafa, was waiting for us. Now we get a chance to sample it the way the locals do. This is going to be our home for the next 4 days. The beach valet. Pawpaw's right outside the front door, well, the only door. Shells right outside the porch. Rather different inside, although they say mosquitoes aren't a problem. They said, oh, there's a few flies around in the daytime, we just put it on to get it ready for you. Towels and hibiscus flowers. Alec wondered if they're still cannibals and this was the meat safe. To the side, the cons are fairly mod. Plenty of fresh air and ventilation all round. The ceiling is very original by our standards, but pretty normal by the locals' standards. All made of coconut palms. I can handle the view from the front door. Can't wait to get into it. But lunch will be ready for us in about 10 minutes, so first things first. The next priority was to choose a good book. Then have a drink and some lunch. The lobster and salad looked great. Oh, all this exertion was making me drop off to sleep at the table, so it's back to the bunk for a snooze. How's this for tranquility? So annoyed last night at missing most of the sunset that I got up early this morning to try and get the sunrise. Let's hope it's just as spectacular. The horizon looks like a steamship with smoke coming out of the funnel. These little fellows were constant visitors to our valet. Quite tame. Today being Sunday, we're coming across to Tonga for a trip around the island and to experience some of the Tongan singing at a church service. These are our host and hostess.
She's working for me, eh?
You're working for each other. This is where Captain Cook came ashore the third time he visited Tonga. He brought with him on that journey a tortoise and a roll of red cloth. The tortoise lived in the royal palace for nearly 200 years. It died in 1975 and it was given to the King of Tonga in 1777. These are two of the ancient tombs dating back to about 1500. Tombs of kings. There are 26 more of them. The stone for them, huge blocks, were cut from quarries on outlying islands and transported here on canoes with outriggers. The stones were slung between the canoe and outrigger and brought in here, cut by hand with stone axes. Quite a feat in those days. Each one of these was for one king only. And these are the fishing pigs of Tonga. Our driver reckons you'll never see that anywhere else in the world. This was the gateway to the King's Palace that was built in about 1200. Each of these pieces weighs about 40 tons. These markings are on the very top of the lintel and they correspond to, see those 2 points at the left, they correspond to the rising point of the sun at the shortest and the longest day, and the ones at the right, of course, to the setting of the sun. The points where the two marks converge, of course, are the equinox. So it was, the marks on it were used as an ancient calendar. Tradition says that this was called the leaning stone, where the king used to sit to confer with his chiefs. He sat with his back to the stone so that he couldn't be clubbed from the rear. There's a burial mound here also. Nobody's quite sure who, if anybody, is buried here. Funny little things. There's a bunch of day trippers coming in to the island.
Too late. Yeah, I'm not looking at it.
How many?
Sinks rapidly in the west. We say bye-bye to beautiful Fafa Island. The friendly islands of Tonga. Head back home to winter.